In this episode, we hear from Bear Grylls in his interview with Nicky Gumbel at the Leadership Conference 25. Bear Grylls is one of the most recognised faces globally in the whole area of survival and adventure. He features in multiple Emmy and BAFTA Award-winning television series. He spent time with presidents and prime ministers, and he's recently released his new book, The Greatest Story Ever Told. I hope you really enjoy this conversation.
Bear, it's wonderful to see you here. And you've written loads of books and done many things. But one of the things you've just done recently is write this book, The Greatest Story. What attracted you to write about Jesus? What attracts you to Jesus?
Wow, what a question. First of all, really lovely to be with you guys here. What a gathering, and thanks for such a warm welcome. We love you guys so much. What attracts me to Jesus? Do you know, I'm mindful not to just give a pithy answer to that. It's a real question. And to be honest, it's been a journey, and it's had many moments of struggle, and many moments also of doubt and uncertainty and pain along the way, I think is fair to say. It's one of the reasons I wrote this story. I try to write the real story of Christ is to separate often the Jesus that I was presented with early on in my life that was very different. And it was often cold. And God was distant, judging, and often didn't feel kind of as if it had relevance for me. And I think my life has been a journey to discover the real Jesus is the opposite of that. And the greatest story ever told is that journey, really. It's a real story of Christ. I haven't changed a word of his that he spoke in the New Testament, but we dramatize the rest of it. But it's theologically absolutely accurate. It's been the hardest thing I've ever done, to be honest. Everest and all of those things were a piece of cake. This has been hardcore. But I'm really proud of it because I want people to know the Jesus that eventually I discovered that is intimate and beautiful and powerful and strong and gentle and relevant and life-changing and life-enhancing. And, that question, what attracts me, it's hard because it's like trying to say, what do you like about the blood running around you? It's kind of like, try living without it. Yeah. Or, I don't know, as a survivor, it's water in the desert, isn't it? It's, I look back on so many things. It's light to a dark path, strength to a failing body, glue to my family, rock and purpose to how I try and live my life. It's my future assurance. It's my daily confidence. It's presence in the struggles. I don't know.
Very good. That's a pretty good answer.
And Bear, a lot of people look to you, particularly young guys, look to you as a model, a role model. Of all the leaders you've seen or read about, who do you see, apart from Jesus, as the greatest role model?
Yeah, that's interesting. I think growing up, my dad was a really beautiful role model. He died when I was too young, but I look back now as a father to 3 boys, and I realize actually he got so much of it right. He was always, he cared that I found something I loved, that I was kind, that I would do my best, and I never had to be the best. They sit at polar opposites, actually, those two things. It's why the Scouts motto of do your best is so good. And it's why so much as parents, as we know, the school model of be the best, reward the A's, the number one team, is so flawed, really. And I look back and my dad was always, all he cared about was the effort grades, thank goodness. He loved adventure, taught me so many of these things at a young age. It was always about connection, actually. I didn't really like being cold and wet up a rock face when I was 5 or 6, but I loved being with him, and there was that connection that's been the driving force, really, of my life ever since. It's the teams we work with in difficult places. So he was a definite role model. I think Robin Hood, he was always good. And then the other one was always John the Baptist, who was my kind of like, I just thought, this is the guy. You know, he loved the outdoors. He lived off locusts and honey. He rarely wore clothes. It's like the Serpentine with Nicky swimming in the morning, you know. He was a wild one, uncontained, but loved Jesus. And I don't know, the more I've learned about that guy, the more I kind of relate to him in so many. You know, he was the one when he'd put the baby inside the womb, kicking whenever Mary would come near. It's like, this is a guy. You know, all his life was this. There is a guy coming who is great. It's all about him, and it's going to blow you away. And I'll baptize like this, but wait until you see this. But, and here's the but. This is the beautiful bit of it for me, is that this man was so full of faith, and he knew eyes on this. And remember, of course, Jesus then says there's no one born of woman who is greater than, he is number one, John the Baptist, in terms of the prophets. And it's stiff competition. You know, you got Moses, Abraham, you know, and yet Jesus says there's no one above this guy, John the Baptist. And so if anyone was going to know and love Jesus, it was him. And yet, when he's imprisoned by Herod, and it's just beginning. Jesus' stuff is just beginning. And you can't imagine what that prison would be like under Herod. That's not a fun place. And you're on your own, and you're about to be beheaded. And he gets a chance to speak to his disciples and say, go to Yeshua, as I call him in the greatest story ever. Go to Jesus and ask him this. Are you the one? Is it really flipping true? You know, and yet he had, so there was doubt, and that reassures me. Even the great has doubt. You often used to say it to me, two sides of the same coin, doubt and faith. You can't have one without the other. So John the Baptist is always up there, and then ultimately, you know, he died, and you know, he's with Jesus now, and it's a beautiful thing. So I love the way he lives. He was very unreligious and loved swimming in rivers.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Bear, some of the many things, as I was saying a little bit earlier, I admire you for, is the sort of family man. You do terrifying things all the time. And in a generation, you've got 3 boys now, one's still at school, the other 2 have left, where you know, in this generation of Gen Z, that's supposed to be the anxious generation, you've raised 3 remarkable young men, and they definitely don't seem anxious. They seem to want to jump out of aeroplanes and base jump and do absolutely crazy things. How have you instilled in them that ability to be brave, and yet they're delightful, sensitive young men?
Well, I think you've got to look at what is courage. You know, courage isn't, you know, courage is facing difficult stuff with humility and heart, and sometimes togetherness with the people beside you, facing it and walking towards it. And I think with parenting, you know, I always remember reading that thing years ago. You can sum up parenting in 3 words. Example, example, example. And how we live is everything. Having that adventure state of mind. It is a state of mind. It's how we live, how we approach life, risk and relationships and our dreams and our willingness to fail a little bit and to know that anxiety is natural. Who doesn't have it? Show me someone who doesn't have it. It's okay. But the beautiful thing about resilience, which is the flip side of that, is that it's the only thing that's a muscle. You know, the kind of, the other things we talk about at school is a natural God-given talents. So someone's clever, sporty, good-looking, you know. It's hard to develop that if you don't have it naturally. But resilience is different. And how do you counter anxiety? You build resilience. How do you build resilience? You stand side by side with people you love, and you are willing to fail and to be vulnerable and to give your all to get knocked back. and to keep going. It's why never give up has become such a mantra for me. I mean, if you ask my 3 boys, what is the one thing your dad has said to you every day on your way to school? They'd roll their eyes, laugh, and go, never give up. And I say to them, I don't apologize for a single one of them, because it's the only thing ultimately that matters. You know, the grades will come or go or be what they are, you know, but that resilience, and therefore in terms of raising boys and, you know, any children to try and feel, you know, like bold, empowered lives, you've got to teach them to deal with that anxiety and fear, because it's part of life. I mean, if you're going to conquer the world, you're going to be truly terrified at times. You know, John the Baptist in that prison, all of us, me backstage. I mean, I get super nervous doing these things. I mean, I really don't pay that lip service, I really do. If you see me backstage, my hands physically shake. And I don't apologize for it, it's okay. But I know the answer to the fears and the anxiety. You got to step into that. And as people, men and women of faith, we have the ultimate, we have that blood running through us. You look at Jesus, there is never a more, you know, we get an idea, sometimes the image of Jesus as a meek and mild, but be under no illusion, he was the ultimate savage warrior, true savage. We think John the Baptist was wild and tough. He didn't do 40 days in the desert with nothing, you know, all being tempted like that. I mean, he was a savage to go voluntarily to torture. And we have that running through us. We're made in that image. And therefore, don't stand back from that, walk into that. We don't, as men or women, have to be kind of like, sort of just smiley and nice. You know, we've got to be warriors. Use that strength with compassion and care and kindness and gentleness. But be a warrior. We should be warriors. I mean, look at what is happening around the world and everything you're talking about, this resurgence of life. Does that call for timid hearts or lion spirits? You know? So, as parent with kids, I think we try and instill that. That doesn't mean they're not going to be scared. And they should see me scared. But together, stronger, get the light, get the good blood running through you, and walk into it. So that's how we've tried to live.
And priority, yeah. Amazing. Yeah. And priorities. I mean, getting you here is a bit of a, I mean, we're very honored to have you here because and it's very kind of you to come because I know what your diary's like. I know you're off to do stuff with Prime Minister Modi tomorrow. Then I think next day you're in Portugal or something, doing something. I mean, your diary is unbelievably busy. And yet, I look at your marriage and your family life. How do you prioritize all of that in a life that is where there's so many demands on you, so many people want, and you can't even walk out. And I try to go for a walk together. It's like, don't forget it. You're going to be stopped every 2 seconds. So how do you prioritize your family?
I think, again, lessons I've learned through failure by sometimes getting it wrong, and then the family gets squeezed and the pressures come on and the still heart gets rattled a bit, and we've all been there. I'm not speaking from a place of a perfect journey. I'm speaking from a place of failure. But I've also learned through experience over the years, it's just keep the faith first. I start the day on my knees, family, and then work comes after that. You know,
how do you do the second one, family?
Because I think it's a decision. It is a decision to put family first. And I reached a point, certainly probably about 5 years into my TV career, and things were, you know, going great, but I was tired in my soul as well as my body. I was missing our boys when they were important things, when they were young. I was struggling with relationships, I was struggling with happiness, I was struggling with many things. And it's because I was prioritizing work. It was like we were starting and we were all guns go and 1,000,000 miles an hour and everyone's asking favors and you just go yes. And I came from a military background where someone asks a favor and they look you in the eye, you do it. So I would do it. But then that producer would leave and the next year and it's like, hold on, they never really cared about that. And I've missed the boys this and Shara's that. And I'm like, I'm on the back foot of everything. And then I just had to reach a point. I had to stop and I had to go, I'm going to put family first, and I'm not going to apologize for it, and I'm going to, because the Almighty says that. He said, prioritize your family, and that's the kind of, you should guard that. You should guard that, and if it's meant to be what I'm doing in my work, the way will find its way. But I learned to move the line a little bit, and there is always a line in our life, work, family, and we kind of try and walk it, and there's another favor, and I missed that one, but I kind of made that one. There's another. And the work, there's always something. And then when you turn around and you look back at the line, you realize a lot of the time you're the wrong side of the line. And I learned just move the line. Move the line 10, 15% this way. So when you drift over it, sometimes you have to drift that way in the bad stuff. That's okay. Sometimes you've got to do it. You come back, and then when you look back, sometimes you're over the line, but you're not over the real line. You're not over the real line. You're 5% this way or that way. And it's been a conscious decision now, family first. And even when there's a big pressure, it's like, we got to do this thing. It's like, if that's really meant to be, I'll be able to put family first and we'll still work it. And if it doesn't work out, that's okay. But I don't want to be at the end super successful, super wealthy, super well-known with a string of bad relationships with my children and family behind me. I don't want that. That's not success for me. And I say it from a place of sort of care as well. And I'm aware, not all marriages always work out. Life is messy and difficult and sometimes happen, but wherever we are, whatever stage we're at, relationships are different. You can still keep great relationships, and especially with your children. That speaks to our heart and our character. And so just trying to put family first. Do all you can. We're flawed, and it doesn't always work, but do all we can to guard faith and family first, and then trust. It's so hard, but trust the rest of the process.
Amazing. Yes, thank you, Bear. I mean, I've having watched you with your children, you do fantastically exciting things to them. But also, when we were staying with you once, I remember coming in to the kitchen, and there you were, cuddled up in a chair with your youngest son, just having a cozy moment. And I was really impressed, really, by the tenderness, the way you treat your children, as well as get them to do extraordinary things. I'm not sure I'd want my children doing what yours do, but I salute you, and I wouldn't want to do the things you do. I don't think. I think for me, fear is quite a big thing, and it's difficult to know. You say you were frightened behind there, but you're not. You don't seem to be frightened when you're in an airplane and you drop out of the sky, and yet. Well. And yet, you broke your back when you were young, with a parachute not opening. I mean, the fact that happened, and now you go and do it all the time. You would have thought that would be a warning.
Thought you'd learnt your lesson.
Yes. That you'd think, how do I go and do that again when that horrendous, you could have been paralyzed for life, which amazingly you weren't. But how do you go back and do something that when you've had such a terrible experience?
Yeah, well, Nicky's right. I did learn the lesson. It's just the lesson is face the difficult, embrace the difficult, do the scary. And that's the mantra I've had. It's like, people often ask after, I did have that freefall accident whilst I was in the military. I spent months in rehabilitation, should have been paralyzed. By the grace of God, I wasn't. And that knocked me down, and it was like, I remember those many months in there of just struggling to reach a bathroom without pain, and more than physical, it was a confidence goes, but those times in our life are often our makings, those left things that hit us, sucker punch in the ribs when we don't expect it, and they're so hard, they take our feet out from under us. But the reason that those moments are often the making of us is because they're our feet that get taken out. And then we start building solid foundations on real stuff that is real strength. And I learned from that. I didn't learn to shy away from life. If anything, it taught me, life has given you a second chance. You are called to live boldly. You're called to be all in. Your life is in my hands. Don't be stupid and reckless, of course. It's like, and I'm not. It's like, my job on Running Wild, we're taking these superstars every week. Their lives are in our hands. We can't be reckless and stupid. You've got to be calm, considered, smart, and double-check everything. But it's a state of mind. It is a state of mind. It's having that fearless is not the word. It's a courageous spirit of like, I'm in. I know how to face this one. And if you ask the crew on those shoots in that plane or in those helicopters before jumping, it's the same thing. They see it. They're used to it. And there's always a hand on my shoulder. You got it. And I go, we got it. It's good. Thank you. Good. And then you do it. And I've also learned that once you jump, I actually make the decision whether it's a good idea or not. I hold that decision until I'm gone. Because once you're out that door, there ain't no going back, But that's a dumb part of my brain, working out how to get over the fear. Just kind of do it.
And there's a lot of talk at the moment about coming out of some people watching adolescence and this whole subject of masculinity. And a lot of people, thankfully, look at bad models of masculinity, but thankfully a lot of people do look at you. And what do you think? What is masculinity that we should be modeling? It's not just masculinity; it's to everyone. But go on, anyway, talk.
It's another brutal question, to be honest. I mean, you can take as long as you like asking that question. It's like Putin apparently speaks perfect English, always uses a translator, so it gives him that extra 15 seconds thinking time. Just rephrase the question. No, I think you're right. It's super topical, and rightly so. I think it's slightly misframed in the sense that I don't think this is about gender specific. This isn't about being a strong man or strong woman. This is about all of us trying to live strong, empowered lives. We'll look to role models to the right, to the left, beyond it, and some will have elements that are good, some will have elements that are bad. But I think if we look to that role model of Jesus in terms of how to live with purpose and fire and courage and kindness, you'll never get a better model. And it's such an interesting sort of polarizing, difficult time around the world. And what you said about the spirit of the age is super topical and like is right on it. That was an inspired sort of line to take. But I do think a lot of the models of leadership we look at around the world that all look at me. Look at me. And as soon as you see that, there's a flaw in that. If you're comparing it against Jesus, it's going to have a flaw. Great leadership turns that on its head. It's always topsy-turvy. Great leadership is look at you. Look at you. Look what you can do. Freeing people into their potential. And that's what, again, writing the greatest story ever told, I learned so much because, it's easy to tell the story. But the reason I needed 20 theologians hand-holding me at every step is that I, at the same time, would read a 600-page book on one encounter between Peter and Jesus on that beach after the resurrection. It's like every little nuance is right. But Jesus' touch was, one of the things I learned, that wherever he went, whoever encountered him came off changed. Everyone. I mean, there's not a single encounter in the New Testament of which it says at the end, I could write enough books to fill a library, the world isn't, whatever, Every encounter in those four Gospels, people are changed. From that first Samaritan lady at the well, through to Pontius Pilate at the end, and Peter on that beach, and Mary in the middle. Everyone. Nazareth, back to my hometown in Nazareth, back to, wherever, the leper, everyone. It wasn't always dramatic. It was like it's the tax collector. What's happened? It's like that's a beautiful model of leadership for us in a small way to have a positive ripple effect on whoever we meet. It might be the person making us a cup of coffee. Lovely Sam, as I was backstage, you saw my hand shaking. You said, would you like me to pray for you? Every encounter, a chance to leave something good and full of light, unjudging, positive. And this speaks to the masculinity and the femininity, to all of it. It's how we live empowered lives, and it's how we lead people in our lives. And by the way, you're all leaders, wherever you are at in your life. You know, the danger of a leadership conference is that it has a sort of a gradual hierarchy of leaders. And we know what Jesus says about those. You know, there's a great reversal. And if we are a father, a mother, a brother, a sister, a team player on the soccer team, and whatever we are, whatever, it's interactions. That's influence. It's influence. Every encounter, every cab driver. And you start to try and live like that. We fail. I was grumpy with this guy yesterday. I woke up this morning and I knew it. It's life. But trying to have that positive impact.
Bear Grylls, thank you very much indeed.
The Thread podcast is brought to you by Alpha, the home of curiosity, conversations, and exploring the Christian faith together. If you know someone who's curious about faith, Alpha might just be the space for them. Why not visit alpha.org or follow us on Instagram and share an invite to a course near you?